This presentation is on job search strategies. My name is David Feeney, and I'm a career coach in the Career Education Department. And whether you're looking for part-time work or summer work or even a professional job upon graduation, the process really is the same. It takes time, it takes work, it takes a positive attitude. Most people approach the job search by applying to posted positions, sending out generic resumes and cover letters, and few people are successful in using this approach. The most successful way to find employment is through networking and accessing the hidden job market. So there's loads of things that we're going to talk about in this presentation. So in terms of what we're going to cover, there are a number of things that I'd like to address. Effective job searching, so just understanding those steps that will make you successful and help you moving forward. People are often operate under common myths or beliefs that get in the way of an effective job search, and so we want to spend some time talking about these things. The hidden job market, what does that mean? You hear loads about it, and people talk about this all the time. So let's talk about the hidden job market in this presentation. Connecting with employers, even during COVID, this has been possible through Zoom, in some cases even easier, I would suggest. And so this is really networking, and people get a little squeamish around that. So we'll have some time on that. And then a little bit of information on safe job searching and how to protect yourself in those situations. And then a couple of comments about virtual considerations. So overall, this is the layout, this is the agenda for this presentation. So what makes an effective job search? We have, overlapping things here. We have the type of job, the hidden job market, and available employers. Your job search is an intersection of all three of these. So determining the types of jobs that are a fit for you, identifying employers and the types of jobs that exist, and then connecting with employers and tapping into the hidden job market. And these are all pieces that we're going to explore as we move through this presentation. But you need to be doing all three of these things in conjunction so that you can be effective in your job search. So how do you determine what the type of job that's a fit for you? This is the most important step in your job search, and you don't want to overlook it. Employers are not looking for people who just want a job. 93% of employers across industries say a demonstrated capacity to think critically, communicate clearly, and solve complex problems is more important than a candidate's undergraduate major. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a bit. Employers are looking for people with the right transferable skills who have a sense of where they fit into the world of work. So we want you to think beyond your degree. Only 19% of employers look for specific majors and do not consider candidates without them, while the majority, 78%, will consider any major. So keep that in mind as we move forward here. Let's talk about this degree to job linkage. The world isn't organized around university majors. It's organized about what they do. And when you think about it, most people actually know what majors mean. So if you're in college and you're majoring in one of these things, let's say you're going to be majoring in petroleum engineering, and you're probably going to work in the oil industry. So this is a straight line to a career. We have a number of straight lines here. We have computer science, we have psychology, we have economics. Makes sense that these are the types of things that you're going to be doing. But then, of course, I look at English, and it points to being a writer. And I always like to tell the story that I have 2 degrees in English, and I'm not a writer. I have worked in the not-for-profit sector and currently in higher education. And so my degree has not determined my major. And so let's talk about that a little. So let's look a little deeper into this degree to job linkage. And when you think about the number of majors that Western offers, there are a great many of them. Is the world organized around these sorts of things? No, the world is not organized around Western's majors or Waterloo's majors or Queen's majors or anyone's majors for that matter. It's organized about what it's doing. And so that's an important piece to keep in mind. You want to think about your major and your degree more broadly and think about your transferable skills. So here's Western. And if the line isn't a straight line, what might that look like? It probably looks more like this. It twists and turns and goes all over the place. This is because only about 23% of jobs are in a regulated profession, meaning, as you saw before, for engineering, you need an engineering degree, to be a doctor, a medical degree, etc. But most jobs don't need a specific major. And so it's useful then to kind of think about what that means. And so if we look at the types of things that come out of this, digital media, healthcare consulting, experiential learning coordinator, etc. So I want to say a couple of things about this. One of the things I want to say is that some of those jobs that you see at the far end there are relatively recent developments. And so if you think about, healthcare consulting and experiential learning, etc., those types of jobs haven't always existed. And so this also goes to the point that job titles and employment opportunities are constantly changing and constantly morphing over time. And so it is said that if you start a 4-year degree today, the job that you're going to do with that degree in 4 years doesn't exist yet. Things are moving at a rapid pace, at a rapid clip. And so it's important to keep that in mind. So your degree sets you up with transferable skills and lots of other pieces that can help you in moving forward into a career that is quite different from what you studied. In our own office, when I think about, if I go down the hall in my head, we have people with degrees myself in English, we have teaching degrees, we have masters in science, etc., and people have transitioned into various types of roles. So this is an important piece. Degree to job linkage is a bit of a myth. So a couple of considerations in a virtual world, and we want to talk about that just a little bit here. You want to really think about your own personality, your own skill set, and whether you want to work in person or remotely. Remotely sounds great. You might want to think, well, I'd love to work from home and set my own hours and not have to have the commute and those sorts of things, and that really does sound great. But as many of us know, having done this for the last little while, it's not, if you need some kind of social interaction, if you need to have some kind of contact with people, this can be quite isolating. So maybe more of a hybrid model, but you want to make sure that you've explored options and figured out what works best for you. The location is hugely important. You might think, well, I'm going to live in Toronto, but the job is going to be in Vancouver and I can do it remotely, and that's great, but make sure that that's going to continue, because lots of organizations that have become virtual in the last few years are asking people to return to offices as well. And so you want to make sure that your situation is set up to continue effectively. And then this is a question that comes up quite often: money making and meaning making. I talk to more and more students about the idea that they want a meaningful job, they want a joyful job, they want to look forward to going to work, and it becomes less and less about the money aspect. Of course, that's important, and I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't pursue well-paying positions and those sorts of things, but it can't be. Let me rephrase that. For many people, it shouldn't be the only thing that they think about. Okay, so let's talk about identifying employers and the types of jobs that exist. So we have here that there are about 2 million job titles out there. I don't know how accurate that is, but it does add up. If you look at the National Occupation Classification numbers, the number of jobs out there is vast. But we want to also talk about the fact that only 20%, or about 20% are in a regulated profession. So there are a couple of things here that I want to kind of comment on. One, everybody, it seems, wants to apply to the big companies, the big, the Googles and the Amazons and those sorts of things. We talk about the big four accounting firms and places like that. And while that's admirable, and while those companies do hire loads of people, also remember that mid to small size companies account for more hires just in terms of numbers. So big companies do hire a lot, and that's you're right to think that way, but you also need to remember that there were more small to mid-sized businesses, and that means that there were more hires happening in those areas. Let's talk about regulated occupations. So this means you need some kind of a license or a certificate or some kind of a registration to work in that field, usually a type of degree. Some common areas would be healthcare and financial services, law, legal services, engineering, as we've said. But I want to talk about the non-regulated occupations. So students typically gravitate to regulated occupations because these are the ones with specific known steps to entry and therefore feel much more safe. But the reality is that most jobs in Canada, about 80% or so, are in non-regulated occupations, and requirements for employment can vary greatly between employers. The steps to entry are not always clear. You may be expected to demonstrate a certain level of skill and competence, to have a specific amount of education, or to have personal characteristics suitable to the job. It's up to you to learn about your industry or job of interest and understand what those requirements are. And so, how are you going to go about doing that is in terms of networking and those sorts of things and reaching out to people. We always like to say that the information that you need is out there. You just need to reach out to find it. And so keep that in mind as you're moving forward. So a few places to consider. Employers have continued to hire during COVID. This hasn't really slowed down. We have a number of links on our career education page, career.uwo.ca, and you can check out specific organizations and what they might be recruiting for. So this is one place to look for employment, is those types of employers. Remote jobs. So there are lots of jobs that have always been remote. And let's keep that in mind, that working from home has always been an option for a number of jobs. It has become a greater option since the pandemic, and a greater option now that companies have moved to hybrid models, those sorts of things. So again, looking for those remote jobs is there for you, and you can find more information at career.uwo.ca in terms of those sites. Booming industries. So there has been an increase in things like supply chain management, things like online shopping, all those sorts of things. And there are lots of pieces there that need management, that need some assistance. in terms of pulling those sorts of things together. So lots of industries have done well during the pandemic, and don't forget to be also looking at those types of companies. And then there are essential workplaces as well. And so we're thinking about some of these things in terms of the last year and a half, 2 years that we've come through. But essential workplaces, healthcare clearly is an essential, but loads of other industries as well, and employers that are continuing to hire. Okay, so I get a number of people asking about working on campus, and how you might go about this, and how you might approach professors for work in their labs or helping them with their studies and those sorts of things. So we've drafted a few ideas here on how you might approach individuals, how your initial approach might sound. So you might say something like, hello, my name is, I'll say David, I'm a student in English, I'm in my 3rd year, and I noticed that you have a variety of students who work in your department, and I was wondering if you will be hiring any more students for this year. So if the answer is yes, then you might ask about, what types of roles are there, what would be the next step, if you might be interested in applying for those positions, ask about application process and the deadline. If the answer is no, then you might ask, well, is there a typical time of year when you hire students? When do you suggest that I check back with you? Would you be aware of any other departments that may be hiring students in this area? So, yes or no, you want to have some kind of a response to that and still keep at it, still keep digging away at those sorts of things. There are work study opportunities on campus. You need to apply for those and demonstrate a financial need for those. And once you've done that, a portal opens up for you that you can look at those work study positions as well. I think we actually hire about 5 work study students across our office here, and they become invaluable. And so those are paid positions as well. So there is work on campus for you. You just need to be kind of looking those things up, and taking some initiative. Build relationships with your employers, but not with your employers, with your professors, and so that they get to know you, and those opportunities are available to you. Work integrated learning. So we talk about internships and things of that nature. And so these types of programs are also a valuable piece in terms of your development of your resume once you're finished your program, and they give you great experience. And so we have numerous opportunities to do short-term work integrated learning experiences that might be with a not-for-profit over the course of a weekend, which is still important to get those sorts of pieces in because that can go onto your resume as experience, or longer term, so 4-month, 8-month or longer internships. And again, the information for this is at career.uwo.ca. And you can continue to check back on that because these things are always changing. But certainly in terms of summer work experiences and summer internships, we start looking for people to apply to those things early in the fall. Let's talk a little bit about the hidden job market. And so we've talked about, where you might look for employment, and how you might approach employers and what kinds of things to think about. But now I really want to talk about what does this mean, this hidden job market. And so if you think about this iceberg, and if you think that 20% of the iceberg is above water and 80% of the iceberg is below water. And so what that really means is that 80% of jobs are never listed publicly. And I want to qualify that just a little bit, because the number is going to vary based on the industry. And oftentimes jobs are posted because they need to do that, follow through that process. But somebody already has a foot in the door. Somebody already has had a referral. Or maybe the position may be filled internally, but they're going through the motion of doing the posting. This isn't to say that you should never apply to things on Indeed and Night Hunter and places like that. Absolutely, don't discard that, but that should not be the bulk of your time. The bulk of your time should be spent on this hidden job market. So when people say, you know, I've applied to every job I could find, they're really only applying to 1 in 5 because the rest are really invisible. They're below the surface. And you're probably wondering, well, how do I find them then? How do I get access to those jobs? And the one way to do that is through networking and doing informational conversations. We haven't met too many students who say, oh, finally we get to network. That's so great. People really hate the idea of having to do this, having to step outside of the comfort zone and reach out to people you don't know. There are lots of ways of doing that effectively, and I will tell you that everybody that you reach out to who's already working professionally has done this themselves. So that should give you some comfort. What I mean by that is it's only strange to you because you're doing it for the first time, but it's not strange to the people you're reaching out to. I've done it, my colleagues have done it, and in fact, I can link every job I had in the not-for-profit sector before coming to Western to somebody else. And so I had worked with somebody before perhaps, and they made a referral for me. They alerted me to the fact that the job was going to be posted. Sometimes I had advance word that a position was coming available. I've done loads of informational conversations over the years as well. So I know this works, and you just have to trust that it works. And believe us when we tell you that this is really the best way for you to uncover that hidden job market. So let's look at this in a bit more detail. So this is generally how people search for jobs. We have online job boards that people are using. So in the Indeeds and the Night Hunters, career fairs or recruiters, they might ask family and friends. And at the very bottom here, they may do some networking. You can see that pyramid's going to tip over at any moment. But this is the way a lot of people search for employment. And it's not the most effective way, because I'm going to show you how employers search for candidates. They start with that internal referral process. And so I can tell you that when we post something here in our office, our director will put out an email and just say, you know, if you know of anybody who is appropriate for this position, who has the skills, let them know that this posting is up. This isn't to say that people still don't have to apply and go through the interview process and those sorts of things. Absolutely they do. But by having that internal referral, you already have a foot in, you already have a leg up in terms of getting into the position. Next is external referrals. And so the internal referral is great because the employer knows that you're not going to refer somebody that's not a good candidate. Next comes the external referral. So maybe other people in the community who may reach out as well. I know that when I used to do hiring, I would sometimes reach out to some of my colleagues in other organizations and let them know what was going on, and did they know of anybody that might be appropriate. Then there's often an existing pool of candidates. You may have had a recent hiring spat where you have a number of people that were not successful, so you still have these people kind of in the pool, and you can reach out to that pool as well. And finally, recruiters and job fairs and ads and those sorts of things. The reason for some of this as well is cost, right? It costs to set up at a career fair. It costs to connect with recruiters and those sorts of things. And so this is really the way that, first of all, that employers are seeking candidates, and it's the way that you'll want to do that as well. So in terms of that hidden job market, again, we have a workshop on networking, and I would encourage you to listen to it here online or to attend it. But 80% of jobs are in that hidden job market. So you want to access your existing network, you want to develop a new network, you want to connect with employers, and then 20% are in job postings, so company sites and on Connect and industry sites, etc. So how are you going to connect with employers? An informational conversation is really an informal conversation with someone working in an area of interest to you. And so initiate a meeting to learn valuable information about a specific industry or a job or organization, and gain insights, advice, referrals to more connections, or even hiring managers. The best information comes from people who actually work in the field that you want to become involved in. So that's a direct sort of piece, is that LinkedIn, cold calling, information sessions, etc. The more indirect, social media, employment agencies, associations, those types of things. And so to increase your access to available opportunities, focus your efforts on contacting employers directly. You might want to organize a list of employers you wish to target. Determine people you can connect with at your target employers, so alumni, friends, family, and other people that might know about your desire to move into an industry and know others in that industry. Arrange those informational conversations and with your contacts to learn about companies, current or potential opportunities available, and to gain valuable advice. Track your progress. Use an effective tracking method, spreadsheet or a calendar, to keep track of contacts made, emails sent, follow-up dates, etc. And then follow up to maintaining and nurture relationships with your contacts. This can lead to referrals to hiring managers as well. So both who you know and what you know are important. And what's also important is that, make networking a habit. So attend career fairs and employer information sessions and conferences. Volunteer at organizations of interest to increase your network and learn about paid opportunities that might arise there. Join professional groups and associations that align with your career interests. And oftentimes, excuse me, there are student rates for doing that as well. Contact employment agencies. Many employers use recruiters to find qualified candidates. For more information, you can visit the Association of Canadian Search, Employment and Staff Services website, and that information will be at career.uwo.ca. Only about 4% of recruiters don't use social media for recruiting purposes, so that's important that you're using those sorts of things as well. And remember to put things on there that obviously are appropriate. We don't want you to be held back because of last night's party pictures that are going up online. I think people are much more savvy about these things than they used to be, but keep that in mind. Cold calling. Now, this seems antiquated, I know, but people still do it, and it is still a method of making contacts with employers. And so we have some scripts here, including a very old rotary phone. I'm sure there are some people that don't know what this is, but there you go. We're giving you a little blast of the past here. So some of the scripts you might use for this, hello, my name is David. I've recently completed my degree in English at Western. I noticed you've hired English graduates for technical writing positions in the past, and I was wondering if you have any current openings or anticipate hiring in the near future. Do a script, write these things out before you make these types of phone calls, because it's going to be helpful for you. You don't want to be stumbling along as you make those types of calls. You want to be smooth. You want to be able to get to the person that you need to talk to when you're doing that. Second script here, again, finished my degree in BMOS, and I'm investigating opportunities where I can apply my excellent, whatever the skills may be, accounting skills, would be able to connect me with somebody I could speak to about potential technical writing opportunities in your company. Again, it's just another way of writing the script, another way of connecting with employers. I've given you lots of ideas around how to do job search, and you're going to want to apply a great many of them. I've said this before, job searching is a full-time job. And if for you to find employment that you're happy with and that is successful, you're going to want to apply lots of these techniques in terms of securing meaningful employment. Safe job searching. So there's an adage that, if something appears to be too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. And that's been bore out numerous times from people I know. And so always keep that in mind. So always research the company website. So are the job and career information posted on the site? Is there a way to contact the company with any questions? Those sorts of things. You should always be a little suspicious when things don't seem to match up. Thoroughly review the position description. Do the duties and the responsibilities of the role fit with the job title? And is it detailed enough? You want to make sure that there's enough detail in there. Be realistic with pay. So again, this is another one of those, sometimes if it's really too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. Always do some research yourself. There's information out there on on what the going rate is for a particular career, what the average salary is. You can look at the jobbank.gc.ca for that information. And so always do your research so that you know. And then think about your own qualifications, your own background, your own experience, and think about, if you're asked in an interview about pay, you have something to go on. But there is a way to research this information. Be wary of email domains that don't match the company. So does it fit with the company name? Those sorts of things. If it doesn't, that might be something to be wary of. Generic email domains as well. Be cautious of recruiters who use non-organization emails to respond back to you. So always check these things. And if something seems off, it probably is. So be familiar with what common employment scams look like, and you can find examples and more information at Consumer Protection Ontario. So there is a site where you can research and find some of these things. The success in your job search. So, as we're beginning to wind down here, you need to think about the number of contacts you've made in terms of the length of time to get a job. Know yourself in the industry you're targeting. Prepare your resume and your cover letter and your LinkedIn profile. Put your LinkedIn profile link on your resume as well. We have resume and LinkedIn workshops, so I would encourage you again to listen to those either online or to attend them in person. Establish a strong network of contacts and create a plan. Maintain regular follow-up and never rely on just one strategy. An effective job search encompasses a variety of techniques, and as I've been talking all the way through this presentation, you'll want to try lots of different ideas here. Treat your job search as a full-time job. The more contacts you make, the shorter the length of time it will be to get that job. Okay, I just want to mention some ways of you contacting us or connecting with us. And so one of the first things I want to talk about is that workshop piece. And we have about 8 different workshops that we offer through the fall and winter terms and at various times, or you can listen to them online as well. Those workshops are everything from interviewing to networking to career design. So don't hesitate to participate or listen to those. Career appointments. We have one-on-one appointments with career coaches like myself. We have a number of career coaches here in the office. And any questions that you have around career, I'm in this degree, I'm not sure what direction to go, those sorts of things, please reach out to us. We're here to assist you in that. Western Employment Resource Center, or WORK for short, is also available. This is a peer-to-peer service. This is students that volunteer and have been trained to assist with all of the documents you might need for employment: resumes, cover letters, CVs, all of those pieces. WORK can assist you with that through virtual or through email. So just send those documents to them as well. They can also help you with some mock interviewing if you need that. And we also offer that as part of our one-on-one appointments. And then online resources. We try to keep our website fresh and rigorous with lots of good information. We're always updating. So please check out our website. I've referenced it a few times here, and you will see that we have lots of things available to you there. Thank you for listening. You can see we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we also are now on LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn page, Careers and Experience at Western. So please follow us. We would love to have you following us and pump our numbers up a little bit. Thank you again, and I hope to see you live in a presentation in the future.